but I don't yet believe it. But now I do. The countdown has begun, and that means it's time for part one of the Week 5 preview here on the Audible, the footballguys.com podcast. And the football gods were kind to us last week, Bloom. In terms of Thursday night football, they might be kind to us again this week. It is the LA Rams traveling to the Northwest to face division foe, the Seattle Seahawks. And we'll start on the Rams side of things. And okay, things got a little bit out of hand against the Buccaneers last week. They're on the road this time after getting a 50-burger dropped on them. What does that mean for Todd Gurley and Jared Goff and all the names we know? Cooper Kupp, you're excited to start. Like, what does that mean against the Seattle defense? I'm using air quotes there because, boy, it's definitely not what it used to be, Bloom.
No, and I think that kind of defines this game, or at least on the side of the Rams. Is the Rams offense any good? I mean, sure, they put up 40 points in a game that the other team kind of let up. Is the Seattle defense any good? They shut down Arizona, but they hadn't shut. Cincinnati almost beat them. This Mason Rudolph moved the ball up and down against them without Jalen Samuels running the Wildcat. So I'm not really sure. And I think after this game is over, no matter what happens, we're still not going to be sure what to think of these teams. But when it comes time to set our lineups, we're seeing fewer and fewer trustworthy quarterbacks every week. So, hey, Jared Goff coming off of that big game statistically and against the Seattle defense, you're probably going to go with him unless you have an obvious choice. Sticking with Cooper Kupp, that's the one thing that continues to work. Robert Woods is back, although I would still put Brandon Cooks above him in the pecking order. Neither Cooks or Woods are essential starts, but probably you're breaking ties in favor of them. We get to Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was kind of back last week. When he catch 7 passes, scored touchdowns, ran someone over, ran the ball like 5 times though. And this offense is just discombobulated, or maybe discombobulated isn't the right word. This offense is stuck in the past, and the rest of the league's in 2019. So we'll see if Seattle, with their familiarity with this offense, will be able to beat them to the punch, because we haven't seen Sean McVay counterpunching. And I wonder, every week this is going to be like, just say it over and over again. Are they going to involve Darrell Henderson? Are they going to run some plays to get him the ball in space? Are they going to use the player they moved up for in the 3rd round? That's another question here. And of course, in the background here, NFC West totally up for grabs. I mean, except for Arizona, any of these teams could win this division and host a playoff game. So this is an important one.
Yeah, the Rams offense stuck in the past because it always was. And it's the West Coast concepts, and then they throw 3 wide receiver and like jet sweep motion, like you're just dressing it up. It's still the same. And Sean McVay, did Belichick break him, Bloom?
Maybe. Well, Belichick just unmasked it for everybody to see, but really,
Fangio unmasked it, and then Belichick really
and everybody, and they were in a slump through all of December, and it wasn't just Gurley. Excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
Couldn't get the mute button in time.
This is live radio, actually, YouTube, TV, whatever, however you're enjoying us. Thank you for participating and enjoying us this morning. Let's talk about the Seattle side, and this is where I complain about Tyler Lockett. I mean, so much more is there for him. It's just not. It's just not. Will Dissly, you're counting on. Looks like Rashad Penny's back. What does that do for, of course, Chris Carson there running the rock? DK Metcalf is like a super deep what-the-heck flex. But if Tampa can drop 55 on the road, traveling across the country, okay, Seattle, no, it's your challenge. Can you drop 25, 35? Where's the line there? And again, Bloom, I'm just kind of lamenting because we know it's more. We know more is there with Tyler Lockett, and it's just not.
Well, they're just going to use him as much as they need to win the game. So in some ways, if you're playing Tyler Lockett, you're hoping for the Rams offense to have a good evening. You're playing Tyler Lockett either way because he has that upside. A few of these players have shown us this, like Chris Godwin. You ride the ups and downs because the ups are so high. So you're going to leave Lockett in. And also, he's a good matchup against the secondary. DK Metcalf, losing snaps to David Moore, used in a more one-dimensional way, which was fine. And some of it's red zone targets. He got more red zone targets last week. He just couldn't convert them. But probably Tyler Lockett's the only receiver to play out of this passing game. But we have an every down tight end. I mean, Will Dissly is a better fantasy tight end in this offense that Jimmy Graham was. He's a better fantasy tight end than Zach Miller was when he got traded to Seattle. Or Seattle signed him, I mean. So that's fascinating. I don't think anybody had that. If you had him as a blocking tight end, you got to keep starting him. Chris Carson, you're going to keep starting him because he sees control of that job back. Now, of course, you have Pete Carroll saying Rashad Penny's going to be good to go, but he said something like that last week. We didn't see Rashad Penny. He's no threat to Chris Carson's job at this point. Really, he's got CJ Precise to look over his shoulder at for snaps and a role in this offense. So we're seeing Rashad Penny has to get back on the field to show his value to the offense. But this will be a good one just to sit back and watch. Bitter rivals. See, usually this becomes a high-scoring game, kind of a freewheeling game when these two teams get together. Of course, when Seattle was good and the Rams were bad, this was actually a game where Seattle would trip over it and not play up to the level they were playing up to in their other games. So lots of layers to this one, and probably will get your week off to a good start if you have players in this game.
Yeah, it should, and that's unusual for Thursday Night Football. So please, NFL, keep it up. It's actually a good product. Only took you a month to get that done. Let's talk about Arizona and Cincinnati. Oh, boy. All right. Arizona with their own injury situations. Of course, with Christian Kirk, we talked about that on the waiver wire show. She's David Johnson more as a receiver. You're going to throw in Chase Edmonds as a super deep what the heck flex, Bloom? Yeah. Because it's working with Larry Fitzgerald. It's not working with anybody else. And with Kirk down, it's going to be interesting. Now, it's Cincinnati's defense. And again, you want to get excited about the Steelers? Watch what Arizona does to them this week. And then tell me how excited you can really be. Yeah. I'm getting messages, and God bless you guys, because you guys are like, yeah, all the listeners like, man, you and Bloom, you deserve this, and soak it up. And I'm like, I'm not soaking this up. No. I know it's garbage because they're playing the Bengals. Now it's the Cardinals' turn, Bloom.
Yeah, if they say you deserve this, it's like on behalf of all Steelers fans, maybe we deserve to go through a little rough times like some other franchise fans have felt. If I hear you deserve this, we'll see. So the Arizona offense should function well against Cincinnati. This has been a terrible defense. However, they only have Larry Fitzgerald. So what's Cliff Kingsbury going to do? Cliff Kingsbury, inventive, using what he's got. We want to see Cliff Kingsbury go into like Chan Gailey mode. Right. if I got Tyler Thigpen, then I'll work with Tyler Thigpen, because what it calls for here is David Johnson to be a full-time receiver, Chase Edmonds to be the starting running back. And Chase Edmonds looked better running the ball than David Johnson did anyway. See, you remember David Johnson back at Northern Iowa, how he didn't really like to, get in the crossfire as a running back. He wasn't one of those running backs that relished contact. And we're starting to see that.
And I'm fine with that, Bloom, because it's kind of like the Royce Freeman thing that Matt's site had the feature on it. And it's creating your own space. It's good that you can use power when you do that, but don't look for that. Don't look to initiate contact. Right. That's how you get in trouble.
However, I think it's turning Johnson into a more timid runner. And he's more valuable to this offense as a receiver anyway. He's more valuable to this offense outside the tackles, detached from the formation as a receiver, including in one-on-one situations. Remember, he was a wide receiver before he was a running back. So I would hope that Cliff Kingsbury is looking at that. And then I guess we're going to see more Andy Isabella in this game because now with Christian Kirk has an ankle. I think it was the next to last play of the game. So we're probably going to see some more Isabella. Kyler Murray against an easy defense. So, on one hand, you have this is an easy defense to crack. On the other hand, you have Arizona went up against an easy defense to crack against Seattle last week and was feeble, couldn't move the ball really. So that's what we're going to watch in this one. But we're probably 10 games on. Cease. I mean, there were worse games in the 1 p.m. Eastern slot, but not many.
Well, this will have some fireworks. You know what Hopefully. I mean? And Bama Bello saying Dalton Stack. Yeah, okay. It's Vance Joseph's defense. We're back. So, hell yeah. And of course, we know AJ Green's never going to play this year. At least that's the way it seems. You've got John Ross banged up. Okay, so Auden Tate becomes more of a deep flex. So let's just throw him in a what the heck flex, Bloom. Lots of Tyler Boyd in this one. Tyler Eifert's a good bet in this one, along with Andy Dalton. And then you're left going, all right, Joe Mixon, what are they going to do with you? Are they going to use you enough? Is it going to be worth it? And maybe without John Ross, a couple more passes for Gio, maybe, but at least there'll be points in this game.
Yeah, this high-flying offense now is going to have Auden Tate. I guess Damian Willis is going to get some more opportunities. And Tyler Boyd. Tyler Eifert is the play here, of course, because Arizona has been terrible against the tight end, giving up 5 touchdowns. Every tight end against them has been either the number 1 or number 2 fantasy tight end on the week, which makes you a little more inclined to play Dalton. Although, again, it's one of those situations where offense that has been sputtering, but against a defense that is eminently beatable, vulnerable. So you're going to play Boyd. You're going to play Eifert if you don't have another tight end. You're going to look at Eifert certainly in DFS lineups. He's going to be chalky. But Joe Mixon is an interesting guy here because if they can get in a good game script and they can get him on track, on one hand, you look at the situation around Joe Mixon, and you go, this is bad, including the offensive line. But on the other hand, was it that much better in December last year when Mixon was starting to go off? So Mixon can transcend a situation, certainly in a game like this. As you said, Cecil, bad game, bad teams. Both of these teams are going to be picking in the top 6, top 8 next year. Maybe a good game for fantasy.
Maybe. Better than this game. Buffalo at Tennessee.
Ugh.
Now, that's like Arizona, Cincinnati will have some entertainment to it.
Yeah.
We're back. But Buffalo at Tennessee is okay, especially if it's without Josh Allen. Now, it's Wednesday morning, full disclosure, whenever you're listening to this. We don't know yet if Josh Allen's going to play. So, okay, here comes Matt Barkley. That means stream to the Titans defense, right? If Matt Barkley's in. And that changes things. We're not yet sure on Devin Singletary, although it looks like he might be back. That'll impact, Frank Gore. And if Singletary plays, we know with a few touches, he can be a what the heck flex in this one. But it's very curious, especially because we do this Wednesday morning, Bloom. Yeah. Like, I don't know what to think of Buffalo on the road against Tennessee because I don't know if Josh Allen's going to be out there.
Yeah, I think even if Allen is out there, they're not going to become a freewheeling aggressive offense. And if anything, Matt Barkley might be a little more accurate on the short passes to Cole Beasley. I mean, Beasley's in there as a high floor wide receiver 3 flex. Brown's a little more upside as a wide receiver 3 flex. Certainly Tennessee has some players in the secondary that can be beat. But these teams are, it's like the Spider-Man and Spider-Man thing. These teams are going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to play solid defense. They're going to want to not make any big mistakes, right? This sure feels like a game that's going to come down to avoiding mistakes or capitalizing on the other team's mistakes. And by the way, we've had a lot of good Super Bowl rematches already this year, Cease. The Music City Miracle rematch, I see Buffalo at Tennessee. Always think of that game. Always think of Frank Wycheck. Whether or not Allen plays, even Allen on the road against Tennessee, I'm not necessarily loving them in this game, this offense. We're going to watch to see if Devin Singletary's back. But again, Tennessee's run defense is pretty good. So Singletary in his first game back, be conservative. Be conservative with Frank Gore either way. I watched Dawson Knox. See, he's coming on. We did see Austin Hooper have a really big game against Tennessee last week. Some of that, I think, was just what Matt Ryan does when nothing else is working. But Buffalo's a contender, a playoff contender, and a team that is pointing in that direction, mainly because of their defense. The offense just needs to not mess it up.
All right. Don't screw it up. That's kind of Marcus Mariota's MO, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't screw this up. Hand it off to Derrick Henry a bunch, and please start targeting A.J. Brown more, please. Corey Davis doesn't suck. Well, as long as Brown's getting his, then things look better, but this is a tough matchup. Now, we may have questions about the Buffalo offense, Bloom. Not a lot of questions about that Buffalo defense. They can be swarming. They can make Mariota look, very pedestrian because, well, honestly, he is. But it could be rougher for Tennessee, even though they're at home.
Yeah, this is a game. Honestly, IDP Fantasy Football, I'll do the IDP Roundtable tonight with the guru, John Norton, and Matt Schauf, our good friend from Draft Sharks. This is a good IDP game to watch, not so much necessarily for IDP production, but the names of players, on the Tennessee side of the ball. Some of these guys like Jayon Brown and Rashaan Evans and Harold Landry. And on the Buffalo side of the ball, Tremaine Edmonds, fantastic. The great players in the secondary. Ed Oliver. So, yeah, this is a defensive battle. It's a safe offense. Play it safe, Marcus Mariota. This is a tough matchup for him. Corey Davis and A.J. Brown. And one of my rivals and a friend from high school, from the Mon Valley Academic League, Joe Wright. How you doing, Joe? Said he heard, I think it was on Bill Simmons' podcast, not Bill Simmons, but somebody else had called A.J. Brown Dollywood Brown. What do you think, Cease?
Nah, too cute.
Yeah, yeah, too cute. But anytime we give props to Dolly Parton, at least, but it's a nine to
We are
five.
islands in the stream.
Go back. Cease. That was our song, man.
Coat of many colors, man. That does.
Mhm.
I listen to that song today. I still cry.
I just go back to 9 to 5. That was a really subversive movie,
It was.
kidnapping your boss, and then everything runs better. Surprise! And I think Dolly was the one who busted out the goods, and everyone was hanging out. Right? Dolly was the gets the party started.
She had some of that hippie lettuce.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting off track because there's just not much offense here. Derrick Henry, a lot of Derrick Henry. This is going to be a Derrick Henry 23 carries for 53 yards. Will he get the touchdown? You're still going to play him either way. Delaney Walker had a little bit of a down week last week because it was Brown and Corey Davis also having a bounce back game. I would not expect much offense in this one, but this is a big one. Tennessee's in the thick of it in their division. Buffalo's still in the thick of it. They shouldn't hang their head. They could have beaten New England last week. So even though this isn't an exciting fantasy game, it's like the opposite of Cincinnati, Arizona. Might be exciting for fantasy. Nothing here for NFL, real NFL. The opposite here in Tennessee.
Here, the Academic League All-Star, Bloom. I'm going to surprise you with this morning, and I hope the camera can pick it up.
Oh, there it is.
That is a young Sigmund Bloom.
Yeah, it's a little bit out of
focus. I
focus,
remember
but
where I found this.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Twitter. No, it was on Facebook or something, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's Bloom in high school." I'm sorry you can't really see it, but I saved that picture because I was just going to send it to you and be like,
there it is. Yeah, my mom would pick out some pretty flamboyant shirts for me. I didn't care. I mean, I've never had, as you can tell from the T-shirt collection, I've never had a sense of style. Some of them, there were better ones than that. There was the pirate shirt. You remember the Seinfeld pirate shirt, the big puppy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I had one of those. I had a periwinkle colored tuxedo shirt. I had one that was a pirate shirt that had like Baroque designs on it and musical, bass clefs and treble clefs and things. If you look out there and you find pictures of me, bolo ties, I would rock the bolo tie, even though I was living in Bentleyville, Pennsylvania. Those were the days.
Those were the days indeed. We'll move on. And my God, you got to be here for the chat room. This chat room is amazing. You guys are awesome because it's like another layer to the Audible lore. So make sure to tune in live if you can, usually around 9-ish. A little bit late today, apologize, but 9-ish Mountain Time, which nobody knows. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The chat room is fired up, and we're fired up to talk to you about the next game, Chicago and Oakland. Well, are we, though? Again, I'll take Arizona-Cincinnati because Chicago's going to kick the crap out of Oakland. They're going to play great defense. It's Chase Daniel at quarterback, so okay. Let's look for Tariq Cohen to catch 14 passes, Bloom. And David Montgomery not to do as much as he should. So that's kind of the standard for this team. But, it's kind of like, okay, Chicago's just going to throttle Oakland. And on their side with Chase Daniel at QB, they're not going to have to do a lot.
No, they're not. London in this one. But thankfully not that early start. So Daniel Cohen, that's just something to watch here. Although Oakland will probably have to make it competitive for Cohen to get a lot of volume here. It could be a David Montgomery game. He's going to get a lot of work coming off of his highest carry total of the season to date. Could be an Allen Robinson game, a little more accurate passes. Allen Robinson's getting open on every play. Oakland, I don't think there's anybody that can stay with him. Also, I just want to point out if Taylor Gabriel doesn't play, see if he's still on concussion protocol, cross Atlantic flight and so on. Javon Wims made some plays last week, like seeing him get an opportunity. Going into the bye, they might want to be conservative. But this game, it should be a layup. And Oakland already had their trap game win last week at Indy.
Oakland side.
Yeah, seriously. Darren Waller. Yeah, I mean, it's Darren Waller and otherwise.
Okay, and let me give you a question then here, Bloom. Yeah. Because Waller, let's say you picked up Waller. And let's say you picked up Will Dissly.
Yeah.
Let's say you drafted Waller, and then you have Will Dissly. Is it Waller or Dissly? I'm taking Dissly.
I'm taking Dissly too, and I think
so
that's a fair
Waller,
question.
But it's like barely tight end one level in my mind.
He's in that range where you're starting him if you don't have anyone obviously better, but if you have been balancing him with someone like Will Dissly, maybe even Mark Andrews this week against the Steelers, that becomes a tougher call because the Bears are just going to thwart everything that Oakland wants to do. Tyrell Williams is a little banged up with a foot issue, so if you were looking at whether or not to start him, that could give you a nudge one way or the other. Josh Jacobs not getting involved in the passing game. This is one where it's a good week to have the Bears defense.
It is, that's for sure. Let's move on and talk about the Buccaneers against the Saints. I guess they can go anywhere and drop 55. Now, not down in your neck of the woods, Bloom.
Mhm.
So again, kind of encore. Chris Godwin, I guess practice reports don't matter. Did a fan war room yesterday with a live studio audience, and I got lots of questions like, who's the biggest scorer you saw on the bench this year? I'm like, has to be Godwin. It has to be. Like, oh, he's banged up, and I don't know if he's going to play. Oh my God, he goes off. So what do they do for an encore after going to LA, dropping 55, this time in New Orleans, this time with a defense that can get after you, Jameis. But and Ronald Jones, we do have to get into that discussion about how the emergence, the takeover, whatever, what more is there with Ronald Jones? How do you feel the Buccaneers are going to attack the Saints down there in your neck of the woods?
I don't think they're going to really attack. I think the Saints defense is really surging right now. So it doesn't behoove the Bucs on the road in the Superdome to have Jameis Winston taking a lot of chances with the ball. I think both of these teams are going to be conservative. So Cease, in the Rams Tampa game last week, we see game scripts are organic. They flow and change. They're fluid in the moment. And as that game broke open, it was a 21-0 lead for Tampa. Everything loosened up. But teams can also tighten up and tighten each other up. And I think that's what we're going to see, a game similar to that Tampa-Carolina game. The NFC South shootouts, not so much here. So Winston, he's actually in the turnover league still has a low floor because he's always prone to the meltdown. I don't know how high his ceiling is. You're certainly going to see Marshawn Lattimore do a good job on Mike Evans. It does lead to more of a Chris Godwin game, and you're not going to bench Evans. It's just going to be interesting to watch. But O.J. Howard now sharing with Cameron Brate, so there's not a lot there for the tight ends. This might be the week that you've already shut down O.J. Howard. Ronald Jones, we love the way he's running the ball. Again, those 2 long runs called back last week. He should take over this backfield. We're going to watch this to see if they continue to stay with this hot hand approach. And is this a game to play Ronald Jones anyway? Did you see Zeke Elliott do anything against? He scored at the touchdown. But otherwise, the Saints held him in check. So the Saints defense is carrying the day for this team, which means not to expect much from the Bucs offense.
Well, and you know how fantasy GMs are, Bloom. They get a shiny new toy off the waiver wire, and Ronald Jones like, I want to start him this week. Maybe not. Running back 3, flex, sure. Hope you have better options. Let's talk about Teddy. Let's talk about Michael Thomas. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara. And, well, really anybody else that you would be interested in against the Buccaneers.
As Evan Silva pointed out on the couch this week, the Bucs' run defense is fantastic. And one that almost encourages you to throw, as he pointed out. But really, with Teddy Bridgewater, air show? No. Again, the Saints, you saw it worked last week. They didn't even score a touchdown, and they won against the Cowboys. So, like you said, Thomas, yes, just throw it around Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara, he's going to be involved enough in the passing game that you don't want to leave him on your bench, and that's it. And it's going to be a yawner in terms of offensive production, but that's just how the Saints want it right now. And this is a great example of mid-season when things change, reinventing yourself. We actually saw the Steelers do it. See, we don't get to do the Monday night recap. We actually saw the Steelers say, we have to do something different because something changed. So applauding the Saints here. It's going to be a part. See, last week, they were starting to tailgate on Saturday night for the Cowboys Saints game. And they do it right here. It's every Saints game is like a holiday.
That, I would say, double true. I'll break out my Pat Swilling jersey.
Dome Patrol.
For Sunday. Yes, Vic Fangio.
I'm going to try to find you a vintage Dome Patrol t-shirt. They're out there.
Ooh, yes. Make sure it's medium, though. I want it to be like super tight and form-fitting, and then I can be like, I was back in the day, back in the 90s, and then I can be like Tommy Boy and be like, oh, what's happening, Richard? Let's talk about the next game up. Minnesota and the Giants. See, I'd take Arizona and Cincinnati. Minnesota and the Giants. Here we go. Okay, now Minnesota is a little bit more exciting if Kirk Cousins pulls his head out of his ass. That's when it would get exciting. All you need is average quarterback play, and you can win a lot of games with that talent that Minnesota has all over the field on both sides of the ball. You have Adam Thielen. You have Stephon Diggs. Your tight ends aren't bad. You have Dalvin Cook. backed up by Alexander Madison. Like, you have everything. And here's another Tommy Boy reference. You have JoJo, the idiot circus boy, as your QB with a full wallet, fully guaranteed contract. Like, come on, Kirk Cousins. And if you can't get it done this week against the Giants, I don't care where you're playing. Like, just get rid of him. Like, seriously, this is setting up like, okay, Minnesota, this is how you should look. Now, it's a terrible defensive opponent, but this is how you should look. Do you have confidence that you could even stack a Viking stack with Cousins and Cook and Thielen, or throw in Diggs, whoever, whatever? We're back. Like, how do you feel about Minnesota this week?
This is one of those different junctures in the season. We'll see that squeaky wheel gets the oil phenomenon, and the squeaky wheel is Thielen and Diggs. I mean, I've seen lots of rumors. I don't know if you want to comment on this. Stephon Diggs getting traded to the Patriots.
Oh, there's buzz. I always love the word buzz because rumors sound so dirty, right? They say buzz. There's some buzz building that we could see Drew Lock later. You know, that's better than saying rumors.
Yes, all these rumors. Can't take it no more. Am I saying that? I always mess up my song lyrics. Anyway, we're coming up with different things to talk about. Timex Social Club, look it up. Because is anything going to change? Against the Giants on the road, though, they're going to probably stick with the run. Your Thielen is still that high floor play that you're going to try to keep him, even though his floor wasn't high last week. So maybe I'm really giving him a misnomer there. And you saw actually Diggs with the ceiling game in a really rough afternoon. They're probably both wide receiver 3 flexes. Maybe Diggs with a little higher ceiling, Thielen theoretically with a little higher floor. But this is Dalvin Cook and maybe even Alexander Madison if you think the Vikings can control this game. But Danny Dimes might have something else to say about that season.
I thought it was Steely Dan. Don't go changing on me now.
Don't go changing on me.
Now, the most interesting thing here, what's Gallman do for an encore? This is a very tough matchup against Minnesota's defense. Sterling Shepard running around out there, Evan Ingram, you got Steely Dan, but then Golden Tate and his insertion into this offense, because what is it, like almost 80% of the slot routes have been Sterling Shepard, but Golden Tate's a slot guy. Like, and this isn't the game to really kind of, let's see how this works. Because it is such a tough matchup, but I'll be curious. I'm not starting Golden Tate. Pick him up on waivers, right? Sit on him. Maybe like a crazy what the heck flex, maybe, but I wouldn't recommend that. I will be watching, though. How does Golden Tate fit in this offense?
Yeah, well, because Sterling Shepard's the dude. I mean, last week on 3rd down or 4th down, if Daniel Jones needed a reception, he went to Sterling Shepard. Shepard got open at will in the slot. Sounds a lot like Golden Tate. But I think that chemistry is already there, so I'm not sure about Tate. Sterling Shepard is a safer play here. Evan Ingram, I'm not sure how safe of a play he is because I don't know if there's going to be a lot of time to throw downfield. And we saw, Danny Dimes, it wasn't always a dime. It was more like you hear the coin bouncing on the floor. Blink, clink, clink, clink. It didn't go in the slot because he was behind on some throws. He was underthrowing some balls downfield against Washington. Washington's right there with Miami and Cincinnati, where that's basically a practice. And he wasn't always sharp against Washington. Well, Minnesota is going to be a rude wake-up call for him. New England next week, by the way. So I'm sorry. There's a Philadelphia. I'm confusing myself. Anyway, my point is this. This is going to be a much rougher game for him, and it is New England and the Giants next week. Minnesota against Philadelphia. Wayne Gallman last week, Matt Waldman said it on Sunday morning, and he was right. John Hilliman, the undrafted rookie, is a better running back between the tackles than Wayne Gallman. That's not to say a lot about Hilliman and say that he's a breakout star. Gallman is all effort, but he's not going to push the pile. His transitions, when he can see lanes opening, but his transitions are clunky. He doesn't able to transition into the hole in an efficient way, movement wise. And Minnesota, there's not going to be anything there. There wasn't much there against Washington, to be honest. There was one good run where half of the field, Washington just vacated for him. He almost scored a touchdown on it. Gallman was good as a receiver. However, a lot of those were coverage breakdowns by Washington again. So this is probably a game to fade Wayne Gallman coming off of his big game. Fade this whole Giants offense. They were excited last week. This week, a true test.
This week, a true test. Well, a test for what? Sam Darnold's spleen, right?
Yeah.
That's what he really wants to play. Okay, cool. Let's wait and see on that. I personally don't think he should play Bloom because of that, inflamed spleen. They'll figure it out. They're doctors, but it's the Jets traveling to face the Eagles, and we're waiting basically for Sam Darnold, and that's where all the conversation revolves around, unless you want to bring up some Chris Herndon love.
Right.
And we know Le'Veon Bell will do his thing, but against the Eagles, yeah, okay, how much does it change if Sam Darnold plays compared if Luke Falk plays?
So trending in the right direction. Darnold taking part in team activities today, I think. The Jets aren't going anywhere this year, so you would hope that they would be conservative. If Darnold plays, that makes Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder much more interesting because the matchup here is excellent against the Philly secondary. I mean, do they even have 3 healthy cornerbacks right now? I don't think so. Le'Veon Bell, you're going to play because he's going to get volume. Even if it's Luke Falk, Le'Veon Bell's going to get enough volume in the passing game, theoretically, to be worth at least a running back 2 play in PPR leagues. But yeah, this is a lost season for the Jets, a chance for Adam Gase to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff and hopefully show that he does have some offensive chops, that he can make Sam Darnold better and contribute to Sam Darnold's growth. Remember, this team's getting Chris Herndon back next week, so these things are all coming together. Next week, it might be a better week for Darnold to come back. Also, facing Dallas. So, we'll see. Everything hinges on Darnold because if he's back, the matchups are good for these receivers.
All right. Flip side of that is the Eagles side of things. Now, I was told on Twitter, Bloom, that I keep pronouncing Dallas Goddard. Okay. There you go. I pronounced it right. I actually had a guy email several times, even sent an audio clip because there's a commercial I do locally where I talk about 4th generation Coloradoan. And he's like, it's Coloradan. Oh, God. Anyway, I can't speak English. Do people not know that by now? I am a talk show host who has done the impossible by working in an industry where I talk for a living and I can't speak the English language. So there you go. Dallas Goddard, whatever. I love the guy. Love him. So let's talk about the Eagles side, Bloom, and I'll stop complaining. And again, plenty of other people to talk about other than Dallas.
Yeah.
How about I just call him that?
Well, just remember, in Goddard we trust. Not yet.
I always trust in Goddard. I would trust if they ran Jordan Howard like they did last week, though.
Yeah.
Like, can you please do that? Do what works. It works to use Jordan Howard that way.
That's the central question of the offense here. You're going to play Carson Wentz. Ryan McDowell, automatic follow on Twitter, doing all kinds of good stuff, posted that there's only been 5 players that have been a top 12 play at their position every week this year. Dalvin Cook, Darren Waller, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Carson Wentz. So you're going to play Carson Wentz here against the Jets. Tremaine Johnson benched. I wonder if he's going to get traded. I don't know if Deshaun Jackson's going to be back. He didn't practice today. Take your time. Philadelphia has Minnesota coming up, Dallas after that. So you probably want to save him for those bigger interconference battles, not an intra-conference battle. Jeffrey Aguilar become better plays this week than they were last week against Green Bay secondary. That Ertz is going to be a solid play as always, maybe a lower ceiling though. And then I would go with Jordan Howard. Look, anytime we see the Eagles favored and think they're going to get to run the offense the way they want to run it, then I think that'll be a lot more Jordan Howard, and Miles Sanders is relegated to what the heck flex, hoping for that big play with his big speed. But long break, Philadelphia could be undefeated right now. The games that they've lost, they had chances to win. Nelson Aguilar had one bounce off his hands. They had chances to beat Atlanta. So this team now gets to rest. They got a big road win against Green Bay, that stand. Now they get a little bit of a breather before they get into the meat of their divisional schedule.
We wrap up part 1 of the Week 5 preview with the only game that I ever want the Steelers to win. I say it every year, Bloom, and trust me, I mean it. If the Steelers could go 2-14 every year, as long as the 2 are against Baltimore, I'm fine. Get 6 rings, man. I'm fine. Listen, This one is going to be very interesting. Now, Baltimore traveling to Pittsburgh. This is usually a rough and tumble, physical intensity in 10 cities type of game. I'm hoping for that once again. You said, get hope and look at hope and Cincinnati. Like, I'll be a towel waving Steelers fan in this one against Baltimore. But I am very fearful of what Baltimore can do offensively with their weapons. Mandrew, Hollywood could have a big day in this one against that Steelers secondary. Like, you're seeing Miles Boykin getting some more work, and Lamar Jackson, and let alone Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram going to be out there stiff arming fools. Like, okay, Mark Ingram versus Devin Bush, right? Can you wait for that, dude? Can you wait for the collision in the heavens that is Steelers and Ravens? I'm just afraid of Baltimore's offense.
Yeah, I am too. In my notes, Cease, I have Lamar finna go off. It's happening. I mean, I was talking about this with Evan on the couch yesterday. When you watch Lamar Jackson, you see that he's like a broken ankle tackle away from a 60 or 70 yard touchdown run, and he wants it. I mean, when he gets in the open field, he becomes the aggressor. A lot of quarterbacks get in the open field and they just don't want to get hit, just want to go to get those yards, lay down. Not Lamar Jackson against the Steelers defense. Remember what Terrell Pryor did that one time, Cease? And then they're creating a lot of room for the running game and the passing game. And the Steelers defense, as good as they looked against an overmatched Cincinnati offensive line, they could be stretched in a lot of directions, and there could be a lot of missed assignments or otherwise some big plays here. So I agree with you. I would be very, very optimistic about the Baltimore offense getting right after 2 games where they were misfiring, where things were off. Mark Ingram's running as well as he has his entire career, but the Steelers can stop the run. I don't know if I'm going to bench Mark Ingram because he could still get those short yardage touchdowns if this offense is moving the ball. But I'm definitely lowering expectations for him on a yards per carry basis. But watch out for Marquise Brown getting free, Hollywood. Watch out for Mark Andrews getting free in the middle of the field. Like you mentioned, Miles Boykin did an excellent job on this play where they basically ran 3 receivers into the middle of the field, and Boykin used the confusion to burst out of that bunch into the end zone where he was free, and Lamar Jackson found him. So, this is going to be a game that's not necessarily it is going to test the Steelers defense, but if the Steelers are going to stay in this game, it's going to need a lot of offense.
It's going to need a lot of Jalen Samuels, right? Here we go. Chat room, free Samuels. Jonah's like, speak on Samuels, Sig. Yeah. And looks like James Conner is going to be okay. Like the reports yesterday were like, and he's okay. But still, do what continues to work, and that is Deontay Johnson run those deep routes. Beautiful, right? You want me to have hope. There's my hope with Deontay Johnson. Jalen Samuels working as a runner or receiver out of the backfield. Doesn't matter. Line him up as H-back. Like, Jalen Samuels can get it done. Whatever. Not thinking about the tight ends, Nick Vannett, what have you. People are curious, though, about Juju. What do you do? Do you trust Juju? And how much do you trust that the Steelers got it against Cincinnati? This is a much, much different opponent.
Well, I don't know that Juju has necessarily earned his way into what you just can't bench him. He's going to be fine. Because why did we love Juju this year? Because Ben Roethlisberger still forces the ball to his number 1 target no matter how well covered he is. Because Ben Roethlisberger extends plays and Juju and he are on the same page, and that's how those long touchdowns and big plays would happen. I don't know. But it all comes down to the either or, if it's Juju or Allen Robinson, then I'm going to play Allen Robinson. If it's Juju or Deontay Johnson on the same team, that gets a little bit tougher. Although I would say one reason to break ties in favor of Juju this week, one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Did you think we're going to be saying that, Cease? Baltimore, one of the worst pass defenses in the league? Terrible. I mean, all that's masking it is that they had Miami, even Arizona had probably their most successful passing day, with the exception of that end of the Detroit game against Baltimore. And we saw Cleveland's offense get right, including Nick Chubb against Baltimore. So Mason Rudolph as a second quarterback, super flex, a low-owned DFS play maybe. Because here's the thing: the Steelers actually evolved and did something that shows we're in the moment and we're going to try to make a game plan to win this game. Can't do it again. They can't go out and have Jalen Samuel and the Wildcat Samuels again. Connor does have that ankle. And look, here's the big background thing, Cease. We just real quickly. I mean, the blueprint we've been pounding the table. Jalen Samuels, more 2-back sets. Is James Conner the Steelers' best running back? I don't know.
We had that question before the year. Like,
Yeah.
Jalen Samuels is incredibly
good.
talented and versatile, and you can do anything with the guy. He never needs to come off the field.
And that 50-50 split, now granted, they both got all those receptions in the running game, and the Steelers should go that. I mean, what I liked about that stat line last week, Cease, it was like a Charger stat line with Phillip Rivers. And if you were to look at a quarterback who, Mason Rudolph's never going to be Phillip Rivers, but you want to try to accentuate the same things. Mason Rudolph plays a similar style of game to Phillip Rivers, and Phillip Rivers is evolving always. Lots of passing to the running backs. So let's continue to see that. But we'll watch the split between Samuels and Conner to see if the Steelers, not just Conner being banged up, which might be affecting this, but that Jalen Samuels is good. And Deontay Johnson's going to continue to get those one-on-one matchups, 2 long touchdowns in 2 weeks. I won't be surprised if it's number 3 against Baltimore this week, or it could be Juju. Remember, he had that long catch and run against San Francisco. But the Steelers are going to have to be aggressive. They're going to have to throw downfield more than they did last week, more than they did against San Francisco. And it's actually kind of fun to break down a Steelers game for the first time this year, Cease.
And actually be excited about it. Well, That is a wrap for part 1 of the Week 5 preview here on the Audible. Everyone, make sure to smash that like button. Comment. Chat room's awesome. Still need you to comment on the video, please, and thank you. Share and subscribe to the channel. You guys have really helped grow the channel, because YouTube isn't going to help unless we were a big corporation-backed show, and then they'd push the hell out of it because they don't support independent creators. And really a big change. Other than football, I watch more YouTube than anything. My man Adam Korlick or whoever, like a bunch of YouTubers I watch about the things that I enjoy, which include comic books and cars and all that kind of stuff. If you guys enjoy fantasy football, thanks for helping us grow the channel. And make sure to check us out on Spotify now. We're on iTunes as well. However you listen to this show, we're on Flick Chat. I'm showing the Flick Chat app right now, where it's like our chat room, except it's on each one of these episodes. So check that out. Put it on your phone. It's for mobile phones only. And, continue the conversation, because, Bloom, this chat room's a party. I never want to miss what the chat room says.
It is. And I think that over the years, the 5-ish, Michael Rivnak, what's up, Riv? So many other people that I remember underrated from Potluck who did our theme. Our
Thursday night theme.
People that are going to be in our lives for the rest of our lives, and I see that, and people from the old chat room days like Joe Everett showing up, and this is about football and loving football and fantasy football and things like that. But the handshake we have, we're in each other's lives for good now. And I love seeing everyone show up. I love seeing everyone's energy. I appreciate that people make room for us in their lives, because it allows us to bring them into our life.
Right, because it's about building community. You want to start a show or start a business or whatever. It's about building a community, not because that community can then do whatever monetization-wise. It's about, let's just hang out. Let's be cool. Let's talk football, right?
Genuinely enjoying other human beings.
Exactly. Isn't that what it should all be about? No better way to wrap up the show than Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom. We're the Audible. Stay tuned and stay blankety blank frosty.